start the clip. I don't know if Eden is already ready to start. I would like to say thank you to everybody. Hi, Eden. Last time we saw each other, we were in a restaurant in Rome. And we hope we can do it again. I hope in the next 6 months, 1 year, I don't know when.
Yes, me as well. Me too.
So I don't want to say anything. Vorrei già dire in italiano grazie per tutti quelli che si sono collegati. E sì, probabilmente è un pochino più complesso, ma così almeno partecipiamo tutti e vediamo come funziona. Quindi, so I don't know if Eden is ready to start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Waiting.
Everyone.
Okay, I just got a message from Cynthia that she has some big issues to connect right now. So as we are all very professionals and we are ready to start and to make it very, very interactive, I think, Eden, since you are such a professional, as we know you, you might take the ownership to make the part 2 of this program, which I just want to remind everybody why we want to do this kind of webinars for our network. The idea is to make sure that under pressure times, we don't forget the importance to look at ourselves and how we can stand out of the crowd of a digital world, which you can imagine is very, very crowded at the moment. It's an advantage. And when we chat the first time, Eden, we underlined that Italy has this powerful capability to have artistry, to shine and to make sure that the Made in Italy brand is well known worldwide. So why we don't take the opportunity to turn this analogic knowledge into a digital advantage? And so Eden, please take the floor.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to be speaking with all of you. Like Danilo said, last year, Cynthia and I and the rest of our team came to Rome and Milan to do 2 personal brand workshops. And the portion that I led was really focused on developing and building your personal brand assets and the importance of having a consistent visual brand online, in person, just in all respects. And especially right now with everything going on in the world, it's kind of hard to believe how fast we've had to start to adapt. And a few things that I'm able to share with all of you are just some easy, fast ways that you can, build out your assets online so that when people go online and look for you and you send people to your digital space, they know that it's you, you're recognizable, there's no question who you are, and it's very clear. So I'm going to share my screen. I just wanted to give a quick introduction also to Cynthia's company, who I work with. So I'm the creative marketing manager, and let me share the screen. How does everyone like using Zoom? You can give a thumbs up if you like Zoom. It's pretty amazing how we're all able to connect. I'm here in Los Angeles, and it seems like everyone is coming in from all around the world. So it's really lovely to connect with everyone this way. So start share screen. I'm going to share the course. So just for everyone's reference, we will be following up, Francesca and Bettina will be following up with lots of different resources that you can take a look at after the webinar is over. So don't worry if there's anything that you miss or you want to return to later on. You'll have access to all of the materials, and we'll have our Q&A at the end. But for now, I just wanted to give a little introduction. So Bell+Ivy, the company that I work for. Sorry, I'm just going to return to a different page. Give me 1 second. Sorry about this. Okay. Publish share, new share. There we go. Okay. There we go.
I just take the opportunity to remind everybody that you can ask questions also in the chat, and that if you want to unmute yourself, you just raise hand. There is a rule which allows you to raise hand, where it's close to your name on more, you can raise hand, and I will see it and give you the words afterward.
Great. So can everyone can see the screen where it says the artistry of standing out in a digital world?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit about our company. So we are an integrated marketing firm with people first approach. So we use digital marketing, personal branding, tools and methods to propel different individuals and perpetuate their influence in their digital landscape to achieve specific goals for their brand, their company, whether it's a large company, a startup, a personal business. We use our digital marketing tools to proliferate their influence through digital methods. We're located in California and in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and we work with a variety of different industries: technology, healthcare, a broad range of people, and also with Fortune 5,000 corporations, working directly with their sales teams and working to build out individuals within the company's personal brands, as well as the face of those companies, and also train their executives on how to develop their own personal brands. So I'm just gonna give my personal quick introduction. So I have been working at Bell+Ivy for the past 3 years. I was introduced to Cynthia and our other co-founder, Zach, back in 2015. And so it's been about 5 years since I've known them, and I've seen the trajectory of their careers, and they have brought me in on several projects with them up until they started Bell+Ivy. So my role within the company is I run the creative team. So all of the creative assets that we develop for our clients, whether it's a personal branding client or whether it's a Fortune 5,000 company, I'm responsible for developing the strategy behind the creative presence and also building out those assets. So I will be able to hopefully share some valuable information with you guys in terms of just very fast and easy things that you guys can do to get started with your personal brand. So I'm just gonna jump ahead, and then Cynthia will return to some of the other sections. But for right now, I just want to talk about having a style guide for your personal brand, and it's something that not everyone. People might not realize the importance of the personal brand style guide. It's equally as important for a brand like, let's say, Target or Walmart, something that's very recognizable around the world. You can recognize the colors, you recognize the logo, you can even recognize the fonts if you pay really close attention. And so we recommend and we make an effort to apply those same principles to a personal brand. And one of the ways that you can maintain that consistency across all of your platforms, whether it's social media, a personal website, if it's an email that you're sending to your newsletter subscribers, we want everything to look the same across the board so nobody is confused or needs to ask the question, who is this? Do I know who this person is? This happens to me quite often, but has anybody ever opened an email and they have to they have to remember for a couple minutes, what is this? When did I subscribe to this? I don't remember subscribing to this. So we want to avoid that ever happening for anybody that you're ever communicating with. And so with a style guide, which essentially is, it's a manual. It's a manual for the way that your brand looks online, in person, social media, all of the different platforms that I've mentioned. So one way to create this consistency is with your color palette. So I wanted to talk a little bit about color psychology. And so we have, so this is a color wheel. And if you guys, I'm sure everyone has seen a color wheel like this. So if you notice, you can actually, and we'll send you the link to this where you can play around with it. But if you go onto the Canva color wheel, and there's other ways that we can do this that I'll mention in my follow-up as well. But with the color wheel, let's say you have a color in mind that you really feel connected to, you feel it represents your brand and your personality. I'm going to recommend picking a color. I'm going to do a purple as a test, maybe more like a lavender. Let's see. And I can adjust it over here to make it a little bit lighter. So something like this maybe. And you can choose different types of palettes. So I like monochromatic. Complementary is the two opposite colors on the color wheel. And you can play around with these. You can do monochromatic, which is something maybe a little bit more neutral. It's not as aggressive. It's not as overwhelming. There's many other options. Analogous, you have 3 colors right next to each other. It's very, very cohesive and something that, adds a little bit of differentiation, but not too much. So just, you can play around, and then what you can actually do is you can use this color palette and you can export it and you can save it to add to your brand style guide. So I'm going to jump back and then just talk about brand fonts. So with a font, you can really say a lot about, the personality of your brand, and you can create something that's recognizable by using a bold font or something that's a little bit more traditional, depending on what emotions and what connection that you want to make with your audience. So to dive into a little bit of fonts, with another tool that Canva offers, but by the way, I just want to remind everyone, these are free tools. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Canva, but it's a really awesome tool, and we love it. But we also have another tool that we'll dive into in a little bit. But first, so with typography, you can select a starter font, and then what it will do is it will actually suggest a secondary font that you can pair it with. And so I always recommend having at least 2 fonts. It's really good. It's really nice to have 2 fonts that look really nice together. Sometimes you may want to pair a bolder font for a heading. Let's say you're going to post something on social media about a webinar that you're going to be joining that you want to encourage other people to participate in, and you want to have something that's very eye-catching. So you might choose a bold, large, in-your-face font, and then you can pair it with something that's a little more toned down, a little less in-your-face for the body text. Those are just really good practices that we like to recommend. Yes, so I'm going to actually share the Canva link. So if you guys want to play around on your computer, here we go. Let's see, everyone. Okay, did everyone receive the link?
Yes.
Great. All right, yes, so Canva is a great tool, one of many that we're going to recommend. So the style guide, which is really where you pair all of these different things together, including your logo. So once you've chosen your fonts and your colors, you can add them together in your brand style guide. And if you do feel like you want to upgrade your Canva account, there is a paid version that you can do where you can store it all together. But you can also do this. I see the question. Let me send the Canva color wheel. There we go. Here you go, everyone. Okay. So with the brand style guide fonts and color palette, you can actually now move on to developing a logo. Does anyone have a logo already? You can message me. No logos? All right. Well, you will soon, because I'm going to show you how it's so easy. There are so many amazing tools. If anyone is familiar with Wix, which is another tool that we really recommend, that's also free and very user friendly. So I'm going to do a new share. Give me 1 second. So Wix logo designer.
So for everybody, we are going to share all this kind of information also later on. We will do a summary of everything, and you will get it in a separate email, so that you don't get nervous because you miss maybe a connection or whatever. Don't worry, we will make it.
Yes, and I hope that these are things that you guys can all have fun with. And just to kind of tie it back into the idea of the Made in Italy brand and, you know, the artistry of building out your own digital brand. These are things, and maybe I'm the only one who is crazy and thinks that designing things are fun, but I think that these are sort of projects that are really, really important to building the foundation. And I think that it actually works out well that we're talking about these tools and these steps that you can take before Cynthia dives deeper into the promotion and the actual strategy behind how do you make yourself visible online? How do you utilize different digital strategies to make yourself known and to, you know, take the skills that you already have and make them valuable to other people? In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think that if you have all of these assets that you've developed and put the time and effort and you've invested in these assets that don't need to take that much time, and you don't need to have a background or studies in graphic design or in fine arts, because of all these amazing digital tools, having those assets that you can share once you have your strategy is actually, I think, a very valuable way to approach building out your personal brand. So I hope that you guys.
And I'm sure the people are going to appreciate your effort to give us this kind of tips and techniques. And I just wanted to underline that when we started to talk the first time, and you were so anxious about our situation in Italy, and we were starting to talk 3 weeks ago, where the rest of the world will probably not be in the same situation. You were so kind, and Cynthia as well, to offer yourself of being of help. We all know that during tough times, we think we go like in a sort of freeze mode, and we wait for better time. Now we can use this time because there is this is life, okay? Every day is life, and this is a big opportunity. And I would like to, I know thank you is at the end of a video conference or in a meeting, but I think that your gift is already very well appreciated. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. All right, we're gonna jump back in. We went on a little tangent. So I'm gonna do a new share, and I'm gonna show you guys the logo maker on Wix. So if you don't have a logo, if you've ever thought about designing a logo, this is something that's going to make it super simple. It's one of several tools that we'll recommend, and you can test them all out. You can experiment, and you can choose whichever one you feel feel works best for you. But on the screen, you'll see create a professional logo for your brand. And so you can just dive in. You can sign up using Google or Facebook or creating an account. It's free and it's super simple. So I'm gonna just log in with Google. And once you're in, so you can start your name. So I'm gonna go with my name, Eden Weinberg. And I'm gonna put my little tagline. That's my little tagline that I'm gonna use for this example. So you can skip all of this stuff, or you can include it, adding the type of business. So I'll put designer. And then this is actually something that I'm also going to share with everyone. It's a nice exercise that they're incorporating, and something that we actually do in our work with all of our clients, no matter what industry they're coming from. The first thing that we ask our clients when we're designing logos for them is we ask them, please think of 3 words that describe your brand. So three words. For me, I'm going to use bold, unabashed, and connected. So it's a nice exercise to actually be forced to just use 3 words, and not, I don't mean phrases, I mean just three words, either adjectives or nouns or verbs. They can be any word, but just 3. And utilizing those as a starting point to get your brain and the gears turning to think about what messages that you want people to feel and what emotions you want people to feel when they see your brand from a visual standpoint. These are things that you can actually communicate visually through the colors, through the fonts, through the imagery, through the iconography. These are all things that you're able to utilize to communicate your brand messaging. So next, you can choose from some of their options for how your logo should look and feel. So I'm going to do dynamic, creative, fresh. Those are the 3 that I'm going to choose. And I think you can choose more, actually. But I'm going to just stick with those 3. Sometimes less is more. And, you can always, the nice thing about this awesome tool is that you can actually go back. You can go back and you can redo it if, the logos that they suggest for you don't work out. So then you'll see they're going to show you a couple options. So let's say you don't like either of them. I'm not really a fan of either of those. So I'm going to say I don't like either of them. I don't love either of these either. I don't love either of these either. I like this one. Not these. Let's see. So where do you want to use your logo? Great question. We want to use it everywhere. That's my biggest recommendation, is make sure that your logo is on everything that you put out into the world, because this is something that everyone is going to be recognizing you by. So make sure that you're claiming your brand. This is why we have a logo, is because we want to claim all of our assets on the digital footprint that we're building. So let's put website, and this also includes print. You can have digital business cards, social media, presentations, other merchandise. Let's click all of it. So they're gonna use this algorithm, and they're going to create some choices for you. And again, if you don't like it, you don't have to use it, but it's also, it's a good starting point to get your mind thinking. And you can then go into some of the other tools that we'll recommend. The next tool that I'm going to walk through is Picmonkey. And we're super excited because we actually have a 2-month free trial that we're going to send you in the follow-up. So you can use that to build some of your social media assets. And we have 2 different guides that we'll share as well to make it really super simple and also have some fun with it. So let's look at some of the.
Eden, we have a question, which is about copyrights on these logos. Before you jump to the next point.
Yes. So specifically, are you referring to the copyrights in the logos from Wix or just in general?
The question was general because of your explanation on Wix.
So that's a great question. In terms of copyright, with your personal brand, you don't really need to worry too much about the copyright until you have, I think, established a bigger footprint to the point where you might see somebody else sharing your logo, and then it might be important to look into copyright. If the logo is for your business, you should have a copyright on the name of the business, and it's definitely something to consider with the logo, but not necessarily a top priority. I think the first priorities are really establishing the digital assets, and then once you start sharing and once you start proliferating all of your assets and having them shared by other people, which Cynthia can also get into next week, that would be when the time to start looking into copyright would be. But that's a really important question, and it really is important to think about, like I was saying, like claiming your brand and making sure that people recognize you and people know, oh, this is you. And having your name and having your logo is a way to really make that claim. I hope that answered the question. And I will actually do some more looking into that, and I can share what I find, because now I'm starting to think more about that. Do I need to copyright my logo? Maybe. So we're looking now at some of the logos that they've developed, and it's nice because they've given such a variety of options, and you see there's different iconography, there's different text, there's different fonts. So there's so many options to choose from, and whether this is something that you actually, select one of these options, maybe you use this and this is like, you feel like they nailed it for you, that this artificial intelligence tool just read you perfectly, you can use one of these as your logo. Or you can use it as inspiration for designing your own logo. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more and get a little bit more creative, but now I'm going to show you a little bit how actually we can do something like designing a logo with Picmonkey. And so you'll see in some of these logos, you'll notice like there's a little icon, and that's something that you can use actually on your social media, just that icon, and that might be something that people are able to recognize, just your icon. And that's the purpose of having an icon, is so that you can use it as standalone, just on its own. And you can actually go into Picmonkey. So I'm going to do a new share. Also, I'm going to show you guys my logo, and it's actually interesting because some of these logos that they suggested are relatively similar to my logo. So I'm just gonna pull it up and then share it with you guys. Just send you guys my file, my logo file.
In the meantime, while you are looking, there is another question The question is, as a professional, do you recommend using our own names or our logo? Or what do
this is
better
taking
both?
way too long to find it. So I'll show you guys later. What's that?
So the question was, as a professional, would you recommend using our own name or as a logo, or that we build both, so that we have both a logo and our name recognition?
That's a really great question. So I think that really all depends on whether or not you are going to use your personal brand first and foremost, or if you're going to use your business first and foremost. So let's say the scenario is that you have a business, let's say this is, hi Kiara. So yeah. I see real estate in your name. So let's say that you have your real estate business and you have a name for the real estate business, and this applies to any industry. So let's say that your real estate business is something that you would like to drive people to via your own personal brand. So you want to be a thought leader on real estate, and you want to develop your strategy around your personal brand to connect with people who might be interested in buying real estate, but you want to connect with them personally through your personal brand and then send them to your real estate business. I would recommend having a logo for both your personal brand and the real estate business. If your business is you, let's say you want to develop your personal brand because you want to build a business out of speaking in front of large audiences at conferences in the real estate space. In that case, I would recommend using your name. I would recommend using your name and having a logo for your personal brand, using your name to use across all of your assets, and connecting that also with a website. In this scenario, in both scenarios, let's say in scenario one, you would also want to have a personal website that uses your personal logo, and you would also want to have a website for the real estate business itself, and they should both be connected. That's another thing that Cynthia will probably be touching on next week, but making sure that everything is connected. It all ties back into the consistency of your digital footprint. So making sure that all of your social media profiles link to each other so that people are easily able to navigate between all of your assets that you're spending all this time building. You don't want people to get confused. You don't want people to, spend the limited time that you have their attention. You don't want them to spend that limited time searching and struggling to figure out and confirm whether this profile is the right Chiara Ippoliti. You want to make sure everyone is confident that this Facebook profile is the right Chiara, this Instagram profile is the right Chiara, and this LinkedIn, and so on and so on. So yes, in scenario one, you would have a logo for your personal brand and for the business, and a website for the personal brand and for the business. And in scenario two, where your personal brand is your business, I would say that you would just want to have one logo and one personal website that's all connected. So, but that was a really great question. I think that it is and that's something that is very different case by case. Everyone is going to have different goals, and that's something that Cynthia will be working with everyone on next week, is establishing a very clear set of goals. Something that we are very, very firm on in the work that we do at Bell+Ivy is just we make sure that every client engagement that we go into, we have a clearly established set of goals, And when you have that clearly established set of goals, it really lays the groundwork and the foundation for the strategy and the asset development and the foundation building that you're going to dive into. Because if you don't have the goals in place, it's hard to know what you should be doing. So let's say in this situation, if you don't have your goals, you haven't taken the time to think in your strategy, whether it's your personal brand that's your business, or it's your personal brand that's going to drive the business to the company that you're starting. Those are things that will really inform all of the steps that you're going to take. And so it's very important to start thinking about those goals in advance.
Yeah.
So we were going to look now at Picmonkey, which, like I said, we have a 2-month free trial for you guys, and it's a really, really cool tool. Maybe something to take a look at down the road, or after you've experimented with the free trial, you're like, oh my gosh, I am a designer and I can make my own logo, and I can make my own social media templates, and I can make custom graphics. And maybe at that point you feel like you want to invest in the upgrade. Maybe it's the time then, but if not, you'll still have all of the assets that you've developed within the first 2 months. Or there's other tools that you can also use. So let's go to Picmonkey now. So I'm going to go to Picmonkey.
So just to make everybody more keen on that, as Eden said, we will give some free trials away. So please, if you're interested, send a note in the chat.
Yes. So sorry, I am just sending. We have one of our team members who wanted to join, so I'm just going to send her the meeting ID now.
All right.
So sorry about that. She just wanted to take a look.
So Chiara already booked one.
Oh, amazing. That's awesome. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, you guys can all see Picmonkey. Is that correct? It's
Yes.
still the same screen. Okay, perfect. So let's start a free trial. Just for the sake of time, we're gonna send you. Oh, sorry. The question.
So the question is related. I think I apologize for saying the wrong name, but Munodaiwa Bore.
Oh, sorry.
The question is related to how to get a free trial, or what is the question?
Yes.
I think that.
A free trial. So yes. So for the free trial, if everyone holds off for now, just for now, on signing up for the Picmonkey account, we're going to send you the link for the 2-month free trial. So the one that you see that I'm just going to quickly sign up for right now, don't use this one because this is only 7 days. So instead, if you just hold off, I'm going to send the link for the 2-month free trial. 7-day free trial. Try. There we go. Okay. This is making me do a payment. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Ignore. Okay. Please ignore. So, uh-oh. Hold on one sec. Sorry, everyone. We are navigating.
And that's the good thing of live meetings, you know? When we would have recorded, you would have been cut it off. But this is the nice thing. And I think everybody of us is also learning that we as professionals, we have the chance to try and to put ourselves in difficult situations and then find a way to get out of it.
Okay, so free trial. All right, so here we go. Okay, let me see. Okay, so I am back in my account and I'm going to start the share again. Thank you guys for being patient with me. All right, there we go. Perfect. Share. Awesome. So Picmonkey, again, Picmonkey is one of our other favorite tools. It's the reason that we love Picmonkey and how it differentiates from Canva is that there's a little bit more design flexibility. And what I mean by flexibility is that sometimes it's nice to have, you know, templates and it's nice to have things pre-built for us. And Picmonkey does have a lot of the pre-designed templates that we sometimes like to use. But the nice thing is that it's very, very customizable. And so with your own personal brand, you really want to be able to put that personal touch on it. And you really want to have that ability, if you choose so, to make changes to the different elements and to do things like that. So I'm going to show you guys as an example. I'm just going to edit a copy of this. So let's say logo icon. So this is something that I had just put together super quickly. And it's something that we could use on social media. If everyone is familiar on Instagram, something that we will recommend for your Instagram is to develop your highlights, which is really it's a catalog of all of your assets that you can actually store permanently on Instagram if that's one of the platforms that you're going to be utilizing for social media. And so something as simple as having a strategically designed set of icons that are all in line with your personal brand style guide, it really, really allows your profile to stand out from the rest. And so something like this icon that I've created, which you can see. So I chose for the background color, this is the color that we use for our personal for the Bell+Ivy brand. It's a very deep foresty green, and then we have a texture that we've added. We've added this texture, and so you can see in Picmonkey. So if we move the icon, you can center it, but you can actually adjust the texture. And let me find where the texture is. Sorry. So here are the textures, and so we've added these dusts and scratches, and you can see if I remove it, is it not applying? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to restart this. And we're gonna do it together. So okay, so we can see the layers apply. So I'm going to start this over just so that we can do this together. So let's start with a shape. And I have this also in a guide so that you can do it, you know, with the step-by-step. But we can start with a shape, and we can just use something basic like a circle. And so I'm going to just open this up to make it centered. And this is all, it's all dragging and dropping. And so it's something super simple. And then we'll go again to the textures, and you can play around. Let's try something with like a watercolor. Maybe something like this nice little watercolor. And here you'll see these sliding bars, and you can see that when you adjust the saturation, it gets like brighter, the color becomes brighter, or you can mute it, so make it a little bit less, and you can adjust the different blending modes. And these are all just, it's fun to test different things and see how the different applications change the way that it looks. So I'm going to use something like this. I think that this is looking nice. And then you just click apply. And then I want to go back into the graphics. So with the graphics, this is where we can find some little icons. And you can search in all graphics. So I'm going to look for something like a flower. And you'll see it has all of these different graphic icons that you can play around with. And so let's say I'm going to go back to Kiara's example with real estate, but I'm going to use a house. So maybe one of the highlight icons that Kiara would create would be for several housing listings that she has available. And so let's see if there's a nice house. This looks nice. So this is something that you could actually use on Instagram as a highlight icon. And in the graphic, you can actually adjust the effects. You can make them transparent also if you don't want to have that little smaller circle. You can adjust the colors. You can change this the transparency, and you can also even use this color dropper tool, so you can actually match different colors from your design. So there's a ton of different tools like a drop shadow, which just adds a little bit of depth. We love talking about depth in design. So maybe something like this. So
I think it's important, Eden, to keep it focused on the fact that you started your presentation by remember that you have to have an objective to reach. And also, I remember when I started to drop and play with these tools, I lost the concentration of the goal I wanted to reach. So probably we like to paint, but at the end we need to remember why we are all doing this. So our focus is to be professional and to promote our identity as professionals or as companies. And we should stay focused, no? And
yes, no, I agree. It's easy to get excited and get lost in all of these tools. So you're right. We're going to return back. So I'm going to pause the share. Or how do I stop the share?
Just stop.
Oh, stop share. There we go. Okay.
Yes.
I'm back. So let's see. For those who are interested. Oh, okay. So yeah, so to go back, I'm going to return to the presentation just so that we have that up. And I'm going to share that really quickly, but you'll still be able to see me. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about your brand assets and your brand style guide. So with your brand style guide, I just wanted to go back and talk about some of the other assets that might be worthwhile to invest in. So my recommendation 100% of the time, 10 out of 10 times, is that you should have a website. And so one of the tools that we visited earlier, Wix, is an amazing free tool that's super simple to build your website. And then we also like recommending Squarespace. And so something that's really important is to claim your domain name. And so this kind of goes back into one of the questions from earlier about the copyright and about should you use your name or your business's name. And again, it goes back to what is your goal? What are you going to use this website for? And who is going to be visiting this website? So I'll use myself as an example. So I have my personal brand website because my personal brand as a designer is something that I use for design projects that I do for people, whether it's a logo design or a website design. And I send people from my personal Instagram page to my website, and I send people from my LinkedIn to my personal website.
Okay.
Those are the ways that I have my profiles and my assets connected. And so again, my logo on my Instagram and on my personal website and on my LinkedIn are all the same. They're all connected. And when I send people to my website, they recognize that they're going to the right place. Because has anybody ever clicked on a website from an Instagram page? This has happened to me within the past few days because I was looking at an Instagram page for a clothing designer, and I had found her through a different page, and then I went to her page, but then I went to her website, and it looked absolutely nothing like her Instagram profile. And so I was confused, and I didn't trust it. And I think that's one of the biggest things also, is that we are building trust. We are building trust when we are building our personal brand, and building the trust visually is equally as important as in the verbal messaging that we're using. Because when you see things that don't look the same or that don't align, it's difficult to trust that you're getting the right information. It causes confusion. And so this is why we stress so much the importance of the brand consistency from a visual standpoint and from the messaging standpoint. But for me, I get to talk about the visual standpoint. And the reason that it's so important is just building that trust, building that consistency. And so having a website that is in line visually with the rest of your assets is equally as important as any of the other efforts that you're going to be putting into building your personal brand.
Yeah, it's quite common, and by looking at our professionals' CVs, for instance, it is human, I think, to look at also at what is their reputation online. So, for instance, if I check a CV and I go instantly to look at Google, I Google it and I look at their name to see what their reputation is. And what you said is absolutely right. 90% of the time, even though I present myself as a very executive professional in IT, at the end, maybe I don't have my personal web page, or my LinkedIn profile is not updated, and maybe on Facebook I look like I don't know, a completely inconsistent professional person. So I think you are absolutely right, and this is one of the main reasons also why we had this. We organized this event for today and for the next 8th of April, exactly for this purpose.
Yeah, and it's nothing to be worried or stressed about if your personal brand right now on your digital profiles is not consistent. It's very easy to fix, and that's why we want to share all these tools with you guys, because there's so many things out there, and there's so many ways that you can utilize the digital tools available to you, that most of them are actually even free. So it's just, and it's something that makes such a big difference to invest that time, that it just ends up being night and day. And I think ultimately the reason that it makes sense and that it's worthwhile to invest that time in establishing that consistent visual presence is because, like Bettina said, like when we search things, especially anytime we are going to subscribe to something, or connect in some way with a company or a service, everyone's going to do their research. And so if we can minimize the amount of time that people have to spend to confirm whether this is the right place that they're trying to get to, the more that we can minimize the time that our audience has to spend trying to figure that out, the more time that we actually have to grab their attention and get their attention on the things that are more important, which is the reason that we actually want to engage with them, and the reason that we want to sell them something, or the reason that we want to ask them to pay attention to what we're talking about. So that's really like what it comes down to at the end of the day, and why it's important. It's not just so it looks pretty. It's bigger than that. It's really important that we make the most of the limited amount of time that we have everyone's attention for. And so doing these things and making this effort in advance will really pay off in the long run, in all of the efforts that you're going to make with the different content that you might produce in the future, or the different emails that you might send to people to communicate with them about the different things and the different tools that you're doing, that you're working on. And so that's really the end goal with what we're doing here. But yeah, so having the website is great. And in terms of some efforts that you can make for planning, the reason that I like to start first with color, then with fonts, then with logos, is because once you have all of those things packaged nicely and wrapped up together and very much consistent, then comes the fun part where you can actually implement that brand style guide onto your personal website, onto your social profiles, and into any other digital materials, as well as print. And I don't want to downplay the importance of print, but the reason that we're here today, and the reason we're focusing so much on digital, is because of the nature of the environment that we're living in today. And it's very apparent how things have shifted in just the past month, even just in the past 5 days. Everything is consistently shifting, and the landscape that we're all living in, and it's everywhere in the world right now, which is something that I don't think a lot of us have really experienced, or at least I haven't. But something that's really uniting all of us is this scramble to learn how to communicate digitally, and learn how to jump into the different tools that are starting to become available to us to make our lives easier and to make our careers still viable. And so the reason that I wanted to focus on digital is just because of the nature of the world right now. But it is still nice to have a business card. I love business cards. And so I don't want you to think that having a business card is worthless, because it's not. Just one little thing I wanted to throw out there. So that's one place that you might also implement your personal brand style guide. But for today, your personal brand website or your business website that you might connect with your personal website is really important. And so with Squarespace and Wix, you can customize all of these elements on your website using the new colors, the new fonts, the new logo, and also imagery, which is another thing that I want to dive into a little bit. So with imagery, which is just as important to your personal brand style guide and to your digital content, having a consistent effect or look and style to the images that you use on social media, on your website, on your LinkedIn profile. This is really, really important. It doesn't all have to be the same single headshot, but it needs to look the same for the same reasons that we've been talking about this morning. It's the consistency, and it's also the recognizability. So we want to be able to recognize you, and having photos that are up to date. And I know that it's difficult right now to have a headshot taken, but there are really easy ways. If you have someone who you live with who might be able to even just take a new photo with your iPhone on a nice blank background. There's a lot of photo editing tools, and Picmonkey is a really great place to practice your photo editing tools. And we're going to share a guide with you on how to create a custom filter. And you can use the same filter on all of your profile pictures, on all of your Instagram posts, on all of the photos that you upload on your new personal brand website. And it's super easy, and it's something that really makes a huge difference. And so that's one of the resources that we're also going to share in the follow-up.
And then I'm sorry, but since every time we start these meetings, we focus on 1 hour, 1 hour and 15, and we are almost over 1 hour and a half and 10 minutes. And yes, and I know that attention normally is going down. So I was curious to understand if there are some areas which our attendees would like to have a little bit of chat on, open the call maybe if they want, or just give you a hurry and ask you to focus on something specific. I don't know. It's just a proposal, because I see it's almost 1 hour and 10 that we are connected. So just for the attendees, is there something you want to ask specifically, or we just let Eden go down a little bit more on the rest of the topics? What do you want us to do? Unmute yourself, or show me that you want to talk, and I open the call.
Let's move forward a little bit.
Okay, Roberto. Yes, let's go forward. Okay.
Ciao, Roberto.
Ciao, Eden. Hi.
Nice to see you. I love seeing the friendly faces. Yeah, so to move forward, I think we've covered a lot of tools. And maybe to talk about some more big picture, because I know I've gotten carried away with some of the specifics and some of the specific tools that we wanted to share, and I will be sharing all of those later. So maybe for some of the bigger picture, I can talk a little bit about I can talk a little bit about just like the visual storytelling, and then a little bit about the psychology of color, because I think that color is really, really important. And I think that, as cheesy as it is, I think that, and this also really connects with the Made in Italy brand and just the vibrance. I think the vibrance of the Italian culture, and something that I've felt really connected with just with my experience in Italy and with people in Italy specifically. But the vibrance of the culture and kind of the nature of the life and world that we're living in right now, it's very easy to feel down and to kind of get distracted by all of the really scary information that's out there. And so I think that utilizing creativity and utilizing some bursts of color, or even just a very intentional and thoughtful color palette in the materials that you are sharing digitally, I think that it makes a really big difference. And so I'm going to share a file that we can talk about, which is cool. I can share it actually in the chat so everyone can pull it up. Hold on just 1 second. So sorry. Okay, it's here. The color psychology. So
I think that when we discussed how to set up this meeting, you underlined, we were looking at the very interesting picture, which was Venice nowadays, in which everybody associates Venice to a specific crowded picture. In reality, we were looking at the clean water with swans. And so we were excited about the changes that this situation is producing. So not all the changes are so bad. I don't think anybody living in Venice now would have ever dreamed to see the swans going in the canals these days. So I think that this is something that Eden was underlining, the capability to use our beauty, the effort of the Italian brand, let's say that the Made in Italy brand, as an extra value to add to our personal brand. So everybody in our network might use that as an exercise to look at how art, how beauty, how nature might be part of our branding strategy. So back to you, Eden.
Thank you. Yes, it's very true. I think that and this is not to minimize the severity and the seriousness and how serious we all should be taking, everything that's going on. I think that this is something that, has not really been experienced by so many people in such a universal way, where we really are all experiencing something so similar, whether the country that we live in has more cases of coronavirus or less cases of coronavirus. This is universal right now. And to me, something else that's really universal is art. And so if we can kind of combine the two in some way, I think that we can really encourage people to not only make the most of the skills that they have right now and really utilize that to help people and sharing your skills, because right now everyone needs help. Everyone needs help from people in different industries. They, the medical fields need help from chefs in restaurants because they don't have time to cook their own meals. And so things like that. And there's this blending of worlds, I think. And so one way I think that we can all feel a little bit more connected is just through art, through intentional design that we can incorporate into all of the assets that we're we're communicating and sharing with people around the world. And so this little diagram, I'm just going to share it with you, but I also shared it in the chat. So the color psychology. So color psychology, it's really interesting to think about colors in terms of emotions and the way that a certain color makes you feel. And so when we look at this diagram, we can look at black and we can look at recognizable brand colors that we immediately associate with that color. So let's use an example. Let's use yellow, because we want to talk about uplifting and something that people connect with. And so McDonald's, recognizable universally. I don't think I've ever met someone who doesn't know what McDonald's is. If there's anyone in this meeting who has never heard of McDonald's, please chat me, because I will personally send you some French fries. So when we look at these different colors, there's specific emotions that you feel, and it's helpful to look at the different emotions when you're going to designing your color palette, because if you have a goal in mind, if you have a specific message, if you have a specific emotion that you want people to feel when they look at your brand, you can actually choose colors based on those emotions. And so, for me,
Eden, so for instance, the go-to-market company is right. We chose blue, and because we want to leverage our organization, the trustworthy and the networking concepts. So I think we did almost a good job in choosing blue. Do you?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you guys, and it's funny because, and you know, my whole job is making intentional choices when it comes to design, but there are really, really times when it's not an accident, but you might not have chosen blue because you knew that the psychology behind blue was quality, trustworthy, ambition, organization, but you felt it. You probably felt that blue conveyed those things because that is the feeling that you feel when you see blue. And it was just something that that worked out really well because you trusted kind of the emotion and the emotional intelligence behind your thought process and your design choices as a company for the go-to-market company. Yeah, no, it's really kind of amazing how, you know, let's say we covered up the words. I'm sure that we could all do an exercise. If I asked you, how do you feel when you look at when you see the color pink? I'm sure that most people would at least name one of those words, descriptions, or a synonym of one of those words. So
right. It's
just very cool to think about the way that colors affect people and not to disregard how they affect people.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone has seen colors that make them feel very stressed out, or also seen colors that make them feel very calm and trusting of you know, looking at. So that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. And I think just to kind of summarize everything, just to summarize and to go back to the importance, I think that in terms of visual storytelling, we can really make small efforts that have a big impact with the different tools that I've mentioned, and that I will send out some resources and some guides. We can make a really big impact, I think, visually. And again, to tie into what we're going to dive into with Cynthia next week, when you combine an intentional and thoughtful visual aesthetic with a thoughtful, intentional verbal messaging, you really have the strongest case to connect with people and communicate what you're trying to communicate with them, and having their full attention, and having them trust you, having them, you know, believe that they are making a good investment of their time with you and with your tools or your sales or your email marketing efforts, whatever it is that your business is doing. Universally, those two kind of building blocks combined will really establish and set you up for the best case scenario and the most success in all of your endeavors, whatever industry it is. And that's really where we come from, and why we make the case for personal branding, and why we encourage people and put such an emphasis on the importance of developing your.
And I think that's also the reason why, after the big success of the event in July, we started with you with this new series of events related to our network. I would like to close up this meeting by passing the word to Roberto Lorenzon, our CFO, and then as a closing remarks to Danilo Ribalta, our founder. Roberto, your word.
My word. Thank you very much. Grazie Bettina, and thank you Eden for your contribution. You've been very kind as usual, very energetic and very useful. Just a couple of words to say that this year for us it is extremely important. The go-to-market company started in January with concluding a very important transaction for us, an equity crowdfunding that was closed as we wanted, and brought two very important things. One, material, which is an amount of capital which was raised, but one even more important, that we have now the contribution of a group of professionals that became our members, and Bettina is one of us. And with these people who are very, very great and having very great experience in several fields, for sure we will be able to grow very much as we want. It's not a good moment. Not a good moment because this is a period in which everybody of us has been somehow affected by this virus, and we have to think not only about our company, our future, our business, but also about our health. And this, of course, can somehow disturb the normal course of business. One point for me is important to say that the go-to-market company always had the idea to offer to our members, to our community, not only services in sales, but also knowledge, also to exchange information. And this is a moment in which also through the technology we can continue our activity, and we can even add other topics as it will be done in the next future. So as Charles Darwin taught to us, the ability to change, the ability to adapt, make the possibility to survive. And of course, this is an important point that we have to continue to stress. So I want to thank everybody for participating. I want to thank again Eden and to be able to entertain us during this hour and a half, during her fantastic morning in California. Again, we were talking about logo, stress, this one. So remember it, it is blue, so we already talked about what is behind it. And I invite also the participants to give us a feedback and to post on, especially on LinkedIn, their impression, each kind of impression. We can be better, we can improve, but we hope that we gave you, not we, they, because all of this was in the hand of Francesca, Bettina, Eden, and our friends in the US. This 1 hour and a half of interesting topics, tricks, tips, and information. So thank you very much.
I would like Danilo to say a word because Danilo is still online. So we take the opportunity as he is such a busy person.
Absolutely.
Danilo.
Nel senso che mi sentite adesso?
Yes.
Yes.
Ok, quindi, first of all, Eden for president. So,
Danilo, you are too kind.
yeah, because, you know, I've been on the telephone this morning, different calls from 9 a.m. and I said, let's connect it at 5 p.m. and probably I will leave at 5:30. And then at the end it was impossible. So I was totally, I was following each and every step, even, you know,
I appreciate that.
very much. So in 1 week time, please, Eden, come back.
I know, I want to so badly. I would love to. The minute I'm able to.
And just when we are going to start with all the people in a call, we are to start the go-to-market company a campaign to reinforce the message of the network. So we will start in each and every our socials. It's important to stay together. This is our contribution. There will be other contributions, but it's important to stay together. In difficult moments, it's better to stay together. We are speaking about professional life. It will be, unfortunately, will be difficult moments for everybody, okay, in many different ways. And it will touch in different ways our life, our professional life. And our goal is to help everybody, okay? This has been the goal when we started with the idea of the go-to-market company in 2016. And when we founded the company, we would like to help everybody to find a professional way or let me say, to continue the profession that we have been able to do in case of sales, in case of marketing, whatever, in our IT environment, even more. So we help everybody to find professional, next level of professional life. And so the campaign will speak about that. And just to end, thank you, Eden, again, to you and Cynthia. Maybe last word, thank you to, you know, Francesca and Bettina. It seems just, you know, the organization has been just women. That's why it's been perfect.
Yes.
Which was one of the intentions we wanted to, you know, when Bettina joined the go-to-market. Last word, and then thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
I just want to underline that I'm in love with the technology. We have connections today between Los Angeles, Serbia, Paris, Switzerland, Germany, Italy, California, I said. So can you imagine, would we ever have the opportunity to meet under these circumstances without technology? So let's focus on technology and see you next week. Please send your comments and feedbacks on social and wherever you like it. If you don't like it, don't tell it. If you like it, better. See you next week, and thank you all for joining. Baci baci.
Thanks again. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Grazie, thank you.
Ciao.
Grazie, ciao.